Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be painting these peonies with you. I'm also going to be taking you through the technique, so we're going to be doing some practice drills before we paint this flower arrangement. I hope you will enjoy this tutorial and stick around till the end of the video to paint this with me. Just to do our practice drill first, I have just some canson paper that is just spare paper I have lying around. I'm going to be using a size 10 round brush by Princeton and a size 6 by Silver Black. Then I've got a jar of water here on standby for mixing and for cleaning my brush. And then for colours, I'm going to be using these really nice dot cards that were sent to me. There are just so many colours on here, so I thought it would be fun to play around with them. These are all by the same brand and they have the colours there so I can tell you what I'm using as I'm using it, which is great because it means I don't have to memorize the colours. Okay, so we're going to get straight into practice drills first. So I'm going to just wet my brush first, and first we're just going to do some strokes of how the technique that I like to use when I paint a peony, and then we will go ahead and paint an arrangement of them. So I'm going to take, let me see, what color should I use? I'm going to take some Carmine. I think I'm going to swap between Carmine and Quinacridone Rose. I actually used to call it Quinacridone Rose. The first thing first is when I'm painting a peony, I like to have my brush at an upward angle. So you can have your brush here leaning on your hands like this, or you can have it the other way. I like to have it this way because I don't want the tip to be fine when I lift off my brush. I want it to be this sort of blunt here that you get towards the bottom of the brush. So just sort of starting at the tip, pushing down and lifting up, and we're getting this sort of kind of really perfect leaf shape, but we're not going to do that. We're going to go back on the same petal and we're going to push on it again, and then we're going to go on the other side and then push, and then there we've got a really nice petal shape. So I'm going to just repeat that petal for you so you can see us doing it again, starting at the tip, pushing down and then lifting up, and then we're going to go on the other side, push down and lift up, and then on the other side. So it's sort of 3 strokes that's going to give us this petal shape. Then what I'm going to do is we're going to do the next step. So this is the very big petals that we'll see on a peony. Then the next one is the ones that sort of come on the side, and this is just sort of putting your brush at a 45-degree angle, and we're not going to push it down as much, and we're just going to push and lift up, and we get this sort of thinner petal. And this is thinner because of the angle that you can see it when you're painting the flower. It will typically be thinner. So I'm going to do that again, 45-degree angle, starting at the tip, pushing down and lifting up. So you can just practice these over and over again. See, that one was a bit too thick. Sort of keep it, don't push all the way down. There you go, just sort of like that. Okay, so that's the sort of second technique that we're going to be using. And then for the petals at the bottom of the peony, we are going to be now turning our brush downwards and starting from the tip and lifting from the tip as well. We're going to be doing the same thing but in reverse as we did with these petals. So we're just going to be taking our brush, pushing down and lifting up, and then we're going to go again, pushing down, lifting up, and there you go. That's just sort of, you can do it 2 or 3 times. It doesn't have to be 3 times every time you do it. It's how big or small you want the petal to be. And I'm going to do it again, but now you can just see I'm sort of bending my brush slightly this way because I want my petal to be sort of bent. So I'm going to start at the tip, push down and lift up, start at the tip, push down and lift up, and now we're getting these really, and you're just going to change your direction of hand to get it to be bent the other way, but the same technique starting at the tip, pushing down to the belly and then lifting up. So there are the 3 main petals, and then the one that we're going to add at the very top, this is just, there isn't really a technique to it. It is just very little petals. I'm just sort of doing small dabbing motions, and these are just going to be our little petals in the distance to resemble how many petals there usually are in a peony. It's not going to be, you know, painted this way, but that's how they look like. So I'm just taking my brush, pushing down and lifting up. Okay, so now we're going to take all of these practice drills and we're now going to paint a single peony. Okay, so we're going to start off with the first petal that we painted. So we're going to start from the tip with our brush at an angle, and we're going to paint the first petal. Okay, and then I'm going to add a second petal just right next to it. These ones are going to be quite big. They're sort of giving us the shape of the flower. And then we're going to go and add our second practice. So these are the petals on the side. So not putting the brush all the way down. We're just going to sort of add some petals on the side. And then joining these petals that we have at the bottom, leaving a little bit of white space, and then bending our brush downwards so we can get our reverse petals. And now using those strokes that we did last and adding these tiny little strokes towards the top of the flower. And we're going to make sure that every one of these little petals are somehow connected, so they don't just look like they've been placed there, but they look more like as a part of the flower. And then you can go in with any green that you have. I'm just going to take the green that I have on my dot card, and it's just called green. It's a really nice color. We can just add sort of a stem going downwards, and then using the same technique to paint some leaves. Okay, so now that we've finished our practice, we're going to go ahead and paint a little arrangement of peonies together. So I'm going to swap between Carmine and Quinacridone Rose. So I'm going to start off first with this one. We could even do like yellow peonies or orange, or you could do white peonies. You would use a very diluted amount of like a pale blue water or grey. Okay, so we're going to start off. I'm going to have the peonies at sort of an angle, as I think that always looks a bit more fun. So I'm going to put in the brush stroke here, starting off with those nice big ones. And coming in on the side, like so, and then going down, going downwards, joining it slightly all together. There's a bit too much space there. I'm just going to add a little bit of pigment to the bottom just to make it slightly darker. And then going in with adding little brush strokes. And then we have our first peony. So I'm going to go in again. I'm just going to add a little bit of Indigo to my Quinacridone rose. It's going to give us this beautiful purple colour. And I'm going to go for a sort of an open peony. So we're going to be using the same brush strokes, but just in a different way. So I'm going to push the brush strokes down like so. And then we're going to have them all sort of meet at the middle. And then I'm going to use side strokes to complete it. And I'm going to go for some yellow. This is cadmium yellow. I'm going to add that into the center just to complete the look. And that's sort of more like an open peony. And then I'm going to go back in with some more Quinacridone rose. And I'm going to go for a bigger version, a bigger peony here. And just keep using the same strokes over and over again. And just in with those little brush strokes. And then I'm going to go back in with my light purple mix. And I'm going to add a small peony, which just sort of looks like a little bit like a tulip, but this is just sort of when it hasn't opened yet. I'm just going to add one of those like that. And then maybe another one down here. Like so. And then maybe going to go in with some Carmine and add in another open peony. Like so. And then I think we might just leave it like that. And I'm going to swap to my size 6 for the leaves. I'm just going to primarily be using the color green from my dot card. And I think we were going to go with nice strong petals and stems so that we get a nice contrast between the soft purples. So I'm just adding the stems downwards, sort of all meeting towards the center. And I forgot to add the yellow to that peony. Now we're just going to go in and start adding some leaves. And we're just going to add as many as you want. And this is really going to bring it all together. And it's just the same thing as doing a petal. You're sort of starting at the tip, pushing upwards, and then moving out. Also going to do some coming out of the flowers. Maybe one here. And now you can just sort of have fun with it. And this is just an easy way to paint watercolor flowers. I think loose florals are such a beautiful way to paint because they are so easy and stress-free. And we're just going to keep on until I think I've had enough leaves, which can take me some time as I really like leaves. I think they make such a difference. And then I sort of like to go in and add these sort of I don't know what I would call them. They're just like extra stems or extra pieces of greenery. I just think they add a really nice touch and they just make the painting look a little bit more wild, I guess, because it just looks a bit. I'll just sort of use a very light hand and yeah, just sort of add them like so. I then think I might just go over with my size 6 and add in a little bit of contrast. So I might just go in here and add some little shading to the flowers just to give them a little bit more color. So I think it looks quite washed out. So now doing the same with the pink peonies, I'm just going to go in with some Carmine and add in some strokes to highlight the petals. You don't have to do this step, this is completely optional, but I like the effect that it gives. Okay, and there you have it. So I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial and it helped you with your practice in painting loose watercolor florals. Please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps me out a lot and tells YouTube to show this video to other people, which would mean a lot to me. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next tutorial.